His tomb was discovered in the year 1922 by Howard Carter. His full name is Tutankhamun. We call him Tut. Zahi was the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. He is the one who is making Tut go through the CT scanning for the forensic reconstruction, whose picture or mural is painted on the wall with the god of afterlife, who is the soul of Osiris, also called as Orion. Hello and welcome to your prep school English classes. I am your English teacher, Kshama. Today in this session, we are going to discover Tut. Yes, you heard me right. Today in this lesson, named as Discovering Tut, the saga continues by A.R. Williams, we are going to discover who is Tut, what happened to him, where is he from. And it is not a saga, of course. It is a short lesson and we are going to find all the details and find out who Tut is, what happened to him. Let's find out. Now in this session, we are going to study about the author of the lesson. Who is the author who has discovered Tut? Is he the one discovering Tut, or is he just presenting the discovery to us? What is the background of the lesson? Okay. And then the summary, and we will also recap the entire lesson. What are the events that are happening in the lesson? When did it happen? What are the details? I can't wait to explain it to you. Okay. Now, before going to the lesson right away, I have a couple of questions for you as always. Now, are you the kind of person who is pretty much interested in watching all the murder mysteries or reading the murder mysteries for that matter? Are you the kind? Next up, what is the next question? So, have you heard of any curse or any, prophecy? That prophecy is nothing but a statement that was told, which is, apparently it would come true in the future. Somewhere in the future, it would be what is going to happen. So, have you heard of such prophecies or curse? And why do human beings always run behind truth? It's not like a dog wants to know what is the reason behind something, what is the truth behind something. It's only us humans. We want to know what happened, what is the reason behind something happening, how did it contribute to the other, all that we want to know. Why is it that we always run behind truth? What's with truth in human beings? And do you not think that history is such an inevitable part of the present and future? On that note, let's start with our interesting lesson in store for us today by A.R. Williams. Now, the author over here is A.R. Williams, whoever has sketched the saga for us. He has given beautiful details for us regarding the discovery of Tut. Now, who is A.R. Williams? He developed love for reading when he was really young. He understood that he has voracious appetite for reading. He read everything and he loved the process of reading. Afterwards, when there were assignments given, just like how it is given to you, when project works and assignments were given to him, he enjoyed doing it. He enjoyed writing fictions, works of fictions and everything. Then he realized, okay, my thing is writing. I need to put more of myself into writing. Later on, what he did, he took membership in a book club. In order to, sharpen his craft of writing, he took membership in a club. Later that, he also started attending online workshop on science fiction and fantasy. So he realized that his kind of writing is science fiction and fantasy. By the time he reached got the membership in a book club, later on he started taking online workshops, attending online workshops. And then when he created his own works, he also gave and received a lot of criticism. Criticism always helps you in the betterment of your work. Whatever mistakes that you're doing, wherever you're doing good at, it appreciates as well as criticizes your work. So it is good to get criticism. He also gave criticism. Now that's A.R. Williams for you. Now let's see what A.R. Williams has given to us in this lesson. The first character, the main character, who is Tut? It's time to answer the question. Who is this man called Tut? How can somebody be named as Tut? It sounds like a pet name, right? Now his original name is not actually Tut. His name, which sounds very complicated, his name is Tutankhamun. For the short form, we call him Tut. His name is Tutankhamun. Okay. Who is he? He is the last heir of the most powerful and the richest dynasty of all times from Egypt, that is known as Pharaoh dynasty. Now, in this dynasty, he was the last heir. He only ruled for what is so mysterious about him. Why is it that we are not talking about any other Egyptian ruler, and why particularly Tut, you may ask. And there's one whole lesson about him in the other part of this world that we are reading about it. Tut only ruled Egypt, or as apart from his dynasty, he only ruled for 9 years. and he mysteriously died as a teenager. He died very young. Nobody knows how he died, at what particular age he died, right? And only ruled for 9 years. That's mysterious. Nobody knows the reason behind his death. He met a teenage death. Then what are the possible mysteries? Nobody knows about it. What else? His tomb was discovered in the year 1922 by Howard Carter. Who is Howard Carter? I'll let you know about it more. So he's the last heir of PHARAOH dynasty, which is one of the most powerful dynasties, of course, which ruled Egypt for centuries. Then he's a teenager who met with death. It is mysterious. The reason for death, how he died, at what particular age he died, everything is mysterious about him. Then his tomb was discovered in the year 1922 by Howard Carter. His full name is Tutankhamun. We call him Tut. Then he only ruled for 9 years. Now in the present time, whoever is dealing with Tut's tomb, it's not Howard Carter. Howard Carter dealt with the tomb in the year 1922. He discovered it. After that, 83 years later, in the time period, January 5th, 2005 at 6 p.m., what is happening? This mummy over here, you know what a mummy is. Mummy is basically a dead body wrapped with cloth and put inside a coffin which, in order to preserve it forever, right? In the Egyptian culture. Now over here, they are thinking that let us reconstruct, have a forensic reconstruction. Let us make this mummy go through a CT scan, computed tomography scan. Let's make the mummy go through it and find out the truth. Let's reveal the truth. That is happening in the current time. This is the current time of the text. Then later on, where is this Egyptian mummy resting? It is in the ancient Valley of the Kings, where all the kings' coffins are kept. In that place also rests King Tut's tomb in the ancient Egyptian cemetery. It's there. Now it is time to take it out from there in order to take it to the forensic reconstruction or CT scanning. What happens? It is assumed, it is told that he died nearly 3,300 years ago. This mummy that we are taking out right now, as it is 2005 January 6 p.m., the mummy or Tut has died nearly 3,300 years ago. Okay, don't know what condition the coffin or whatever that is inside the coffin, the mummy is in. What happens? It's time to unravel the secret right now. And what is happening right now in the setting in 2005 January 5th is that there are usual line of tourists that are coming inside. They are looking at all the murals or the paintings that are done on the walls. It is almost 26 feet deep underground that this entire Egyptian cemetery, ancient Egyptian cemetery is situated. The tourists are coming in, they are looking at the rock-cut tombs of the kings, and as they are moving, they are also thinking, is it because of the pharaoh's curse that this king died? Why did Tut die? Is it the pharaoh's curse? Is that the thing? What is a pharaoh's curse? Let's find out in the later part of this session. Moving forward, we know that Howard Carter he discovered Tut's tomb and decided to study it. He is a British archaeologist, and after years of futile searching is without finding anything, he finally found Tut's tomb in the year 1922. Afterwards, what did he do? Was it easy for him? What was inside the tomb? Do you not want to know? I really am very excited to know what's inside. Then, it was buried deep with what? It was buried with board games, a bronze razor, linen undergarments, cases of food and wine were kept inside it. It was not like just any other tomb or any other coffin. It was a 3-nested coffin. There were coffins inside the coffins. There were 3 coffins. This guy was literally inside the 3rd one. So when you opened the first one, what did you get? So it is obvious that when they have put all the linen undergarments, bronze razor and everything inside, it is obvious that Tut's time they were the fabulously wealthy, richest family, right? And then 3 nested coffins were investigated. When they were taken out in the first layer, what do we find when the first coffin is opened? We find that there is a shroud. There is a piece of clothing where this mummy is covered with. And not just that, there is a garland made out of willow, olive leaves, wild celery, lotus petals and corn flowers. These things are used to make The garland is also there. It's not fresh, of course. 3,300 years ago it was put. But there is a shroud and a garland. The residues were what? Willows, celery, lotus petals and cornflowers. Right? When these were found, is it a faint evidence that he might have died somewhere in between March and April? These are the seasons where you will find olive leaves, wild celery and everything. So is it like a faint evidence? Are we getting closer to an evidence which tells us that he might have died somewhere during the months of May or April? We don't know. We just have an evidence that supports it. But what happens is that Carter's investigation doesn't really go very smooth as we are seeing it so far. He gets into trouble. What is that trouble? As he reaches to the first layer, the first coffin, there is a problem. As a custom, they have put resins, okay? These resins over the period of time, they have hardened and they have cemented this dead body to the ground or the bottom of the coffin. Now it is impossible, very impossible to take out this cemented dead body from the bottom of the coffin. Now what does he do after that? He thinks of a plan. What is that plan? He thinks that now that we are only melting under the sun in the Egypt desert, if we put the coffin outside under the sun, something might happen. It might get a little detached from the box and we might be able to take it out. So he keeps it outside. He reached the mummy, which is in the third layer of the coffin, but ran into trouble. It was hard to take it out. Why was it hard to take it out? Pay attention here, because when the resins were put, as a custom, resins were put along with this dead body. Now these resins had hardened and sticked the dead body to the bottom of the coffin. Now it was hard to take it out. Then when he kept it under the sun, under 149 degree Fahrenheit, he kept it there. It was of no use. They had to finally use chisels, these iron and steel sharp materials, chisels to literally separate this solidified material from the bottom of the coffin. In order to separate it, what did they use? They had to use chisels. Now this guy has died 3,300 years ago and they found it in 1922, right? Imagine how delicate it could be when you use chisels. I'm sure there's a couple of damages that have happened. What happens? When they removed this mummy's head and every other part, there was, of course, a little damage that had happened. Then how did they manage to keep it all together? They used layers of sand, paddings and wooden box. In the wooden box, they put some layers of sand. Then they started arranging the mummy with the help of all the paddings and everything, and it seemed okay. But there were major damages that had happened. Says the mummy was in the very bad condition due to what Howard Carter did in the 1920s, 1922. Says Zahi Hawass. Who is Zahi Hawass? Who is this third man in the picture? We got to know about Tut. That was discovered by our Howard Carter. Now there is Zahi Hawass, who is the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities. Now he is actually making Tut go through the forensic reconstruction in the year 2005 as we speak. January 5th, 2005, 6 p.m. Zahi Hawass, the Secretary General of Egypt's Supreme Council of Antiquities, he is the one who is making Tut go through the CT scanning for the forensic reconstruction in order to find out what exactly happened. What is the truth? Moving forward, we also get to know in the text that nowadays archaeology is not just about going and finding some treasure. It's more about the discovery that has been made, what are the details that are available, and what are the details telling us about, what are they talking about. Are they talking about the past, something that has happened in the past? Archaeology, since because of the development in the medical technology, it has grown very intricate. The people are concentrating about the details and the information that these treasures can provide. It's not just about discovering treasures anymore. It's much more about, archaeology is much more than what the discovery is. It's the story behind it as well. Then, there are two lingering questions. What are the two lingering questions? After some 40 years later, Howard Carter has dealt with Tut. He has, of course, been responsible for a couple of damages. But in the year 1968, there's an anatomy professor who makes Tut go through X-ray scanning. What comes out in the X-ray scanning? Pay attention here. I want to drag your attention to this detail over here. He finds out something really interesting. What is that interesting point? The breastbone and front ribs of Tut are missing. They are not there inside the box. How did Howard Carter miss it? How come he did not see it? Or has he seen it? What is the point over here? Now, this anatomy professor, when he made Tut go through the scanning in 1968, he finds out a startling fact, an amazing fact, that there is the breastbone and ribs of Tut are missing. It's not there. But in addition to this, the two more questions that we had, it is still unanswered. The first one is, how did he die? What is the reason of his death? Was he poisoned? Was he murdered? Was he killed? What is the reason behind his death? The second one is, how old was he when he died? If he only ruled for 9 years, what happened to him? When did he die? Did he die in his teenage? Did he die in his 20s? How and when? Those two questions are still there. And while we were dealing with those two questions, we get another thing, that his breastbone and ribs are missing. Moving forward, what is the backdrop? I was telling you about Pharaoh's curse. What is the Pharaoh's curse? To tell you that, we need to understand the background of this particular dynasty, Pharaoh dynasty. So we start with Amenhotep III, who ruled for about 4 decades. His rule lasted till 4 decades, and he was a fair ruler. He ruled the rich and wealthy dynasty. After that, the one who comes after him is a very interesting character. The Amenhotep IV is whom we need to concentrate about. He actually was the pioneer to a lot of changes. He made a lot of changes. What were the changes? Now, he started worshipping Aten, the sun disk. This was a whole new god altogether. They were not worshipping, till now they were not worshipping Aten, the sun disk. What did the changes that he made? He changed his name. For the first up, his name was Amenhotep IV. He changed his name to Akhenaten, who is the servant of Aten. He started worshipping Aten, right? So he changed his name to, which means the servant of Aten. What is his name? His name is Akhenaten. He changed his name. That's the first change that he made. Second up, he changed the religious capital as well, from Thebes to Akhetaten. He changed the name of the religious capital as well, or he changed the religious capital altogether. Then he also attacked Amun. Amun was one of the major gods of that time and the one that they used to worship in the times of Amenhotep III. But this one over here, he changed the god that they were worshipping. He changed the religious capital. He changed his name, which meant the servant of Aten. His name was Akhenaten. Then he also attacked Amun, the major god. He smashed all the temples, and he also closed all the temples. Later on, there was another mysterious ruler who came mysteriously and also went away mysteriously. There's not much known about him. But the one that comes after him is what we are concentrating about, our Tutankhamun. His name was also actually, after passing on from Akhenaten, his name was originally Tutankhamun. Now this name, he actually changed it. He also changed his name to Tutankhamun, the one that we know. He tried to retrieve whatever that was there, whatever that was originally a part of this dynasty, whatever that was the legacy, he tried to retrieve it. Go back to the time of Amenhotep, where they worshipped Amun. Amun was the god. Now, when it is time of Tutankhamun, he changed his name to the living image of Amun. Tutankhamun means the living image of Amun. While he was trying to retrieve and get back the legacy of this Pharaoh dynasty, he dies mysteriously. Now, what happened? What is the reason? Was him trying to retrieve the whole thing? Was that the curse? Or what Amenhotep IV did that cause him to die? Was that the cause? Were the changes that were made, unusual changes that were made, the cause of this young ruler's death? That was what the tourists were talking about. Now, that's what we are trying to understand. Moving forward, on the evening, 6 p.m., January 5th, 2005, what are we doing? The workmen are taking out Tut's tomb from through the ramp to the hydraulic lift where the CT scanner is placed, and some 1,700 X-ray images are taken, cross-section images are taken of Tut. Then there is also Tut's head is actually scanned with 0.62 mm, that precision. They don't want to miss on any details. So there's a lot of X-ray scanning and everything that takes place. There are a team of specialists Radiologists, forensics, anatomy specialists, everybody is working on getting it right and not doing any damages like how it happened in the time of Howard Carter. Moving on, less than 3 hours later, his tomb or his coffin is returned, the mummy is returned back to the original position, which is in the Valley of the Kings, the ancient cemetery. There, after this, when you come back, there was astonishing images of the head, skull, neck, hand, everything has been taken, rib cages as well. There are a couple of ribs that are missing. So all these photos are also taken. And now Zahi Hawass can finally breathe in peace. He had given a statement, right? A statement saying that during the period of Howard Carter, there have been a lot of damages that have been done. Now, what if damages are also done during his time? So he's, breathing and smiling in peace now that it is all done. Then the end of the story or end of the image that none of our questions have been answered yet. I know. Go and find out more about it. At the end, the entrance of Tut's tomb, we see in the sky the Orion stars. Orion is a star, of course. Now, in the Egyptian culture, Orion stands for the soul of Osiris, which is the god of afterlife. It is believed that this young boy is looked after or it is protected by the Orion or Osiris. In the final image where you can see, this is Tut, whose picture or mural is painted on the wall with the god of afterlife, who is the soul of Osiris, also called as Orion. Okay. Now, what did we see in this entire wonderful chapter? It was totally a roller coaster for us, right? Who is Tut? Tut is the last heir or last king of Pharaoh dynasty. He died mysteriously. We do not know when he died, what was the reason behind his death. Now, he only ruled for 9 years. And then his tomb or his coffin was found by Howard Carter, who was a British archaeologist, in the year 1922. After when it was found, what happened? We got to know who Tut was. What are the new clues that we have? Inside his coffin, there are 3 coffins, one inside the other. When you open the first one, what is inside? Inside we found, bronze razor, linen undergarments and cases of food and wine, which shows that it was a very rich, wealthy family. After when he reaches to the first layer of the coffin, he gets into trouble. It was not so, Carter's investigation was not so smooth. Why was it so? Because the resins that were put inside as a part of the custom, it had sticked the body to the bottom of the coffin. Now, in order to take that out, he puts it inside the sun and it does nothing. Then they had to remove the dead body with the help of mummy, with the help of chisels. There were little damages, major damages that were made. However, they were able to rearrange it as much as they could. But Zahi Hawass, who is taking up the forensic reconstruction and CT scanning, who is the Secretary General of the Egypt Antiquities, he says major damages were made by the research that Howard Carter made at that point of time. Then, some 40 years later, there is an anatomy professor who does X-ray scanning of this mummy and finds out shocking facts, which is that the breastbone and ribs of this Tut mummy is missing. Along with the 2 questions, when did he die? What was the reason behind his death? And how old was he when he died? Later on, when we come back to the backstory of Pharaoh dynasty, what happened? We have Amenhotep III, who was a fair kind of ruler who ruled for 4 decades. Then we have the path-breaking, the pioneer for changes, which is Amenhotep IV, who changes the god from Amun to Aten, which is the sun disk, and who smashes all the idols and closes all the temples of Amun, changes the religious capital from Thebes to Akhetaten. Then he also changes his name as well. Although after him, there comes this mysterious ruler who goes away. Nothing is known about him. After that comes our ruler, Tutankhamun. He changes his name from Tutankhaten to Tutankhamun, which is the living image of Amun. He is called as Tut. Now, he over here tries to retrieve the legacy, come back to praying and worshipping Amun. But it doesn't happen. Before he tries to retrieve it, he meets death. Now, that is what we wanted to find out. What was to be done? Then there is notable shifts in archaeology we talked about. There is backstory of Pharaoh, and Tut was the first mummy to be scanned. Some 1,700 X-ray images were taken. After that, what was done? He was safely returned to his tomb without much damage, and Zahi Hawass taking smiles and taking breaths of peace. He was happy that no other damage happened, and they got astonishing images of x-rays of this mummy. You can also go and find it in the internet and make your own discoveries and research about this lesson presented by A.R. Williams. Discovery of Tut. The saga continues. Let the saga continue with you. Go and find out much more details about this lesson. What are the characters that are there in this lesson? There's so much to find on the internet. Go and start your research right away. And I hope you also paid attention to all the details. If not, go back and get all the details right, so that we will be able to have a great discussion when we meet. On that note, I'll see you all in the next class. Thank you.